Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of How Did We Get Here? I'm your host, Jay Carter, and the man that is always heard and never ever will be seen Skeens is not on this episode, but he is with us in spirit. Um, I want to thank y'all for tuning in and joining with us again. Um, if you look on the screen here, you see a very handsome elder statesman of a gentleman that we have as a special guest on our show today. And I wanted to talk to you guys about a series that I've mentioned it in some podcasts before, but a series that I wanted to start with members of my family, that represent like I say, the elders in our family. I want to sit down with every elder that we have that's living and, sit down and talk with them about their life experience, their life story. And, we're going to call this series The Fabric of Me, the fabric of, what makes me who I am. So, this wonderful, handsome gentleman that we have here is none other than my uncle from my father's side, Napoleon Carter. So thank you for coming to the show, sir. Thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you, Jay.
So, um, we talked about this for some time, and I actually had the pleasure of seeing my uncle a couple months ago, and I was like, Uncle, I want to sit down with you. I had actually text you and I think it was RC and some other folks and was like, hey, I want to do this and just procrastinating. And I'm like, y'all really want to do this? You like, hey man, let me know. You know what I mean? So um
Mhm.
my motivation for this is it's a number of things, but um your mother, my grandmother, mother dear, uh while I had a wonderful relationship with her when I was around, being living in a different state and then, being in living the military life, I wasn't around her as much as some of my other cousins and my brother and stuff like that. And I wanted to, she was an inspiration for it. You were an inspiration because you guys don't know, but this gentleman has a whole family lineage going back to, I don't know, 1700s, 1800s, stuff like that of our family tree. So I think it's perfect that I sit down with you just to hear your experience. And I was sharing with you a friend of mine, a good friend of mine that I met in Germany, still friends with him to this day. It's just talking about being able to have something tangible from our elders so that, a lot of times we think about in legacy that we're giving to those that come after us, money, things, land. But more importantly, is we want to give them a window into how we think. How do we think about things? How did we overcome certain hurdles and obstacles and things like that? And that's just as valuable as money, you know what I mean, as land. And that stuff is important, but how did we think about things? So um I want to of course start at the beginning of you. If you don't mind sharing with us your full name and date of birth.
Yeah, Jay, my name is Napoleon Carter, and I was born June 26th, 1951. That's what my birth certificate says.
1951. So you got a birthday coming up very, very soon. Um, and
Actually, it's past June
oh, I'm sorry.
26th,
Yeah, June 26th.
1951.
We in July. Yeah, you just had a birthday pass. So happy belated. I did send you a happy birthday. That's right. So you were born in Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
No, I was not.
See, I didn't know that. So take me there.
Okay, so I was born in a sharecropping community called Phoenix in Yorktown, Arkansas. That's right outside Star City. So
Okay, I
that's where
never
I
knew
was
that.
born.
I never knew that.
Down I was born there, yeah. And my grandmother, who was a midwife, delivered me. Her name was Stella Carter.
Yes, who Aunt
And
Louise is named after.
that's right. That's right.
Okay.
That was the lady who delivered me along with a 15-year-old girl named Grigsby. Her last name was Grigsby. Now, the
Okay.
backstory to that, if you don't mind, is that, okay, where they lived, where we lived in,
Mm-hmm.
there were no like paraprofessionals or anything. So To earn your, if you were going to live in that community, you had to have a skill that would help the community survive. And so you had midwives who were relatives of, of people. Like my grandmother was a midwife, and and, uh, and Grigsby was an apprentice under her. So if you were a girl in that community, you turned 12, they would assign you to a midwife, and you would have to learn how to bring a child into the world. And that's what Griggs was doing. If you were a boy, you had to learn how to take people out. Your Uncle Num, his name was Nambu Longfellow Hiawatha Lindsay, was the local day grave digger. So when you turned 12, you had to go see Hiawatha Lindsay and learn how to dig a grave. So that's the backstory to that.
You are blowing
But
my
yeah.
mind off top. The fabric of me, y'all. This is it. This is so authentic. Okay. Okay. So sharecropping community. So in the lineage of the boys, it was Uncle Jimmy. Tell me, so
Yeah.
who it was Uncle Jimmy
Okay.
was, I mean, not on our side of the
On
of
our
the
side, yeah, not the taste.
yeah.
Okay, it was your
Yeah.
Uncle Jimmy first.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was Cornelius, who
Yeah, I've heard
died
of
very
Cornelius.
young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, and then me.
Okay,
Then
then
your
came
Uncle
you.
Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Your uncle, I was number three. Your Uncle Jesse, your Uncle Mike, your Uncle RC,
Mm-hmm.
your Aunt Louise, and then your father, Jeffrey.
There we go. There we go. Okay. So when
He
did
was
you
the last
guys
Carter.
right, he was the last. Okay. So when did you guys actually move to Pine Bluff? How old were you?
I think I was 4 or 5. I don't really know for sure, but we were all very young. My When we moved to Pine Bluff, my mother was I can't remember, but I was really young, maybe about 4 or 5 years old.
Okay. Okay. So that's when y'all moved to Pine Bluff. Now, what are your earliest childhood memories? What was life like in Pine Bluff at that time? What was your home life like?
Well, it was pretty good. We were dirt poor, but we did not know it. Mother dear was very good at masking that. So
Mm-hmm.
we never felt like we were inferior to anyone or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. Uh, and so, and there was a lot of love in the house. So we were never, I don't remember being unhappy as a child. I
Wow.
really don't. I don't remember being unhappy. And I do remember though, early on, we did not have like a TV or telephone or that kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so Mother D used to read to us a lot. And so I learned how to read really, really early, learned how to, and she spurred our imaginations, uh, really, really early. And I remember your Uncle Jesse sort of fingering on the side of a coffee table all the
Mm-hmm.
time, and that we didn't know it at the time, but that was God's gift to him to be
Mm-hmm.
that music
Yep.
thing. But he was always doing that, and we would like smack him. I'd smack him on his hands like any little, like little bear cubs would be wrestling around. I'd be smacking him on his hand when he did that. But he used to do that, and it was pretty. It was a pretty quiet life, when we were really, really young. And of course, once we got old enough to start going to school and that,
Mm-hmm.
we, started uh, getting into our growing into our own personalities
Mm-hmm.
after that, and we could actually see each other growing into our own personalities. So um, at the time there was just Jimmy was still down on the in the sharecropping community. He stayed
Mm-hmm.
down there with Mama Chris,
Mm-hmm.
and my mother moved with the four of us. The four of me, Jesse, Mike, R.C. moved to Pine Bluff. And
Okay.
so we started to see each other's personality and all of that in the late 50s, early 60s.
Hmm.
And then your
Now,
father, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, and your Aunt Louise and your father were born while we were in Pine Bluff.
So, if I could take me into your mind, or if you could describe how would you describe Mother Dear as a mom and as a woman?
Well, as a mom, she was unbelievable.
Hmm.
Uh, our father died in 1954.
And can you
Or
tell me
late.
the circumstances with how he passed?
Okay, now here's the story that came out. We don't
Okay.
really know for sure to this day.
Okay.
Okay, the stories are that he sat down underneath a tree and he had a heart attack and died. He was at the arsenal in Pine Bluff at work.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's one story. The other story is that he ate something out of a can and he came home and got sick and passed away. So
Mm.
now the story that Mother Dew said is the right one, is that he died at the arsenal.
Mm.
On that, that's what she is saying happened.
Okay.
You know, but to me, it would seem like if he died on the job, she would have been compensated for it, but she never was.
She wasn't. Yeah. Hmm.
Right. So, but anyway, those were the stories that were out there about it. But I never
Hmm.
did learn for sure. I just go with what my mother said.
Sure. 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 Now you said she was phenomenal as a mother. Um,
Yes, yes, she was really good at masking our poverty. See,
mhm.
as I grew up and got older in my adult life, I learned how devastating poverty could be to a child, to a child's psyche and to a family in general.
Mhm.
But she was really, really good at masking that, and
Mhm.
we never, felt like we were poor, but we were.
Mhm.
And so that was the one thing I remembered and cherished most about her. But it was after I, got older and was able to reflect,
Mhm.
was that she was just incredible at making us feel like we were really well off. We were dirt poor, man.
Right. Right.
That was the trick of the century.
Right.
But yeah, as a mom, though, that she took her to church every Sunday, and she managed to find her way to the hearts of all of our neighbors. And
Yes.
she would, give food to the neighbors. She'd visit people in the hospital. That's one of the reasons that Adrian, your cousin Adrian, is a doctor right now, is because Mother
Mhm.
Dear used to take her with her when she would go visit sick people,
Yeah.
and that inspired Adrian to become a medical doctor.
Mhm.
And but she, did those kinds of things, and of course we, had some help because my paternal grandmother was living with us here in Pine Bluff at the time
Mhm.
as well. So she influenced us as well. Her name Estella Louise. Louise is named after Mama Stella, and so
Right.
she was there as well. But the two of them made our lives just so wonderful. In the midst of that of abject poverty, and I just cannot thank them enough for uh, for doing that because that freed my mind to pursue anything I wanted to pursue.
Mhm.
See, because I don't know if you, well, poverty is a really powerful thing, and it can hinder and harm you in your journey to do whatever it is that you're going to do because it takes away your confidence. It makes you feel like you're less than anybody else, and that sort of thing. But Mama Stella and Mother Dear were able to not let that happen. And I'm just, really grateful about it. 'Cause I was
Yeah,
able to
that's
then go
remarkable.
on. Yeah, it is remarkable.
So if one thing I always looked at, and me and Aunt Louise actually talked about it one time. I talk about the example of you guys, you, Uncle Wayne, my dad, Uncle Robert, etc. Um, how did you have your framework of manhood, and I how devoted you are to your wife and your children and your grandchildren, and you come to support me over time when I graduated from high school, when I got married, you and Aunt Brenda were there. So where did you get this framework from when you didn't necessarily have a father in the household because of the unfortunate passing of your dad so
Okay,
early?
that's a no-brainer. Mother dear made sure that we went to church every Sunday, and in our church there were men who I emulate today. You know, they were
Mm,
married men, strong family men.
mm-hmm,
My scout master, H.P. Johnson was a big influence on me. He was married, had children, and he was always talking about, honor your wife,
mm,
honor, take care of your responsibilities, and don't, faint, be prayerful, stuff like that. When you were young, some of it you don't get, some of it you do.
right.
But the part that I got is that he and a lot of the other men in the church, they really believed in the institution of marriage.
Mm-hmm,
So when I was growing up, I don't remember anybody getting divorced, Jay, tell you the truth. The spouse either was lost through death,
mm-hmm,
due to illness or accidental death, like in a car wreck or something like that. But I don't remember. I just don't remember anybody in that
yeah.
circle that got divorced because the men believed in being the spiritual leaders in in their households, and they believed in honoring their wives. And they used to talk about, because and I remember not HP, but another Johnson. He was one of the deacons. He was um, came to our Sunday school class and was saying, okay, so here's how he was saying, here's how you stay married. And he,
Mm-hmm,
of course, it was some of it was tongue in cheek, but a lot of it was the way that he practiced his
right.
marriage. He was like, first thing, shut up when your wife is talking. He didn't say listen though. He just said, shut up when your wife is talking. And then I remember another thing that he said. He said, okay, if your wife fix you something that's sour, you eat it and then tell her it was sour. So, it was humorous, but at the same time, it was letting us know, hey, if you're going to involve yourself in the institution of marriage,
Mm-hmm,
then you can't be weak kneed about it.
right.
You have to be strong and carry that role as the head of your house.
Mm-hmm,
But it doesn't mean that you rule with an iron hand. It means that you honor everybody in your family.
sure.
You know,
Absolutely.
so that's where I learned
Absolutely.
that from. And your father has taken it to an extreme. I just admire what he and Barb have so much.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, he is the ultimate married man, and
Yeah, he
I'm so
definitely
proud
is.
of that.
And
Yeah,
I know
but
you
that's where we learned that was in church.
he's one of the ones we look at, you and Aunt Brenda. I mean, y'all been rocking, man, for I mean and here's the thing when you talk about that example, is that's all I know is married folks. You know what I'm saying? That's my frame of reference. And I
Yeah,
think my homeboys now that where if Trey sees somebody where the mom and dad are not, he's like asking me questions, and I was like, that's because it's foreign to him, and I want it to be foreign to him, but I also have the discussion with him that, son, sometimes, it doesn't necessarily work out that way, but to him it's like it's weird, and you guys are part of what inspired me to all I saw was marriage. And I'm like, well, that's how I want to have that same level of devotion and care and love and respect for my wife as well. Now, um I wanted to piggyback off something that you said. You said that because of how Mother Dear raised you, and she kind of shielded you from, poverty and what that could do to you, that you it didn't stop you from doing what you wanted to do. What are some of the, I know that you, for the longest, I didn't know, my dad be like, boy, your Uncle Napoleon, he played trumpet and I'm like, what is this? I don't know this about this guy. But
Yeah.
so
I was a musician for a while, played and I made a living doing it. Me and your Uncle Jesse, in fact. Uh,
okay, tell me
but
about that.
I didn't have that genius gene that yet Jesse had. I really had to buckle down and study music,
Okay.
and teach myself how to play the trumpet and that sort of thing. But it was all because Mother Dear endeared herself to the people we were working for. Now she was a domestic. When we moved to Pine Bluff, okay, sharecropping days were over, so she was out, had to get a job. So
Mm-hmm.
she began working in the home of a white woman called Miss Anderson. And
Mm-hmm.
Anderson, she owned a restaurant called the Lion's Inn. Well, Miss
Mm-hmm.
Anderson gave us a piano, which Jesse just jumped on and started playing, out of the
Mm-hmm.
blue. He started actually making chords and notes and all of that kind of thing without a single lesson. And
Oh.
then one of um, the Mrs. Anderson and some of her friends would come over to the house, and Mother Dew would have me and Jesse sing and play for them. And
Oh,
so
okay.
one of them had an old trumpet, and they gave us that instrument, and that's how I started messing around with the trumpet. And so I picked it up, So I got good enough at it to uh, start playing it. And when I got in high school, played in a band, and then got a scholarship to college with it.
That
And
was what you got your scholarship from playing? I didn't know. I didn't know that part.
yeah. I went to college on a music scholarship. I was
I
in the
didn't know
band.
that. Okay.
Yeah. I was in the UAPB M4,
Yes, sir.
the sound of the Mid South, the
Mm-hmm.
marching sound of the Mid South. But yeah, that's how I got to college. Otherwise, I wouldn't. I was a strong C student, basically, Uh, but uh, but that's how I got through college is by playing the trumpet.
Yes, sir. So as we fast forward, then, at what part of the time span do you meet Aunt Brenda?
Did I meet Aunt Brenda? Okay, well
Hmm.
we met in the fifth grade, man. Yeah, yeah. I've been knowing her for almost forever. Well, what happened was
Well, yeah, pretty much.
I met her at a book fair at an elementary school. We had a book fair, and the elementary school. She was at Carver Elementary. I was at Greenville,
Hmm.
and they were having the book fair at Carver.
All right, we still good. Okay. So you, when it dropped out, you were talking about the book fair.
Yeah, okay. It was when I met your aunt Brenda. Yeah, okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
we go to the book fair. I'm dressed like Anansi the Spider. Okay, he's a Jamaican sort of superhero that can turn to a spider.
Hmm.
Okay, and so I got the book, written on me and that thing dressed like a book.
Hmm.
Okay, so Brenda's standing on the stage. She's holding up a sign that said, "I like books." So I went up to her and I looked at her sign. I said, "Hey, I'm a book." And so we became friends after that,
Right.
but that was
Okay.
in the fifth grade, man. And
Wow.
we stayed friends for, from then on. And
So when did y'all actually start, dating?
Well, okay, so what happened? Okay, I graduated from high school and I went to college on a music scholarship, and we were at the time ROTC was required for all freshman males,
Mm-hmm.
and you also had to register for the draft. The draft was still on,
Yep.
so I didn't register for the draft because we were didn't like what was going on in Vietnam. And we went to ROTC, but then we did a sit-in there. We did a couple of sit-ins at the ROTC building. Wore the uniform out of regulation. You lived on bases before, and you know that
Mm-hmm.
there are regulations on how you wear
Sure.
your uniform.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we wore the uniforms out of regulation and did that. You know, and so our Colonel Batiste, came out on the third day we were sitting in and blocking the entrance. He said, "Okay, gentlemen, there's a war going on in Vietnam, and they need bodies." He said, "If y'all show up and disgrace my uniform again, I'm gonna have every one of y'all drafted." And so we're like, "You can't do that, blah blah blah. We got deferments and all that." And I'm sitting there thinking, well, can he really do it? Because I knew I had not registered. See, and he could have got me. But I went ahead, with the crowd, did a thing, and sure enough, he had me drafted, man.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I disappeared from school. Didn't even have time to drop out. I mean, to clear everything out. I got, you know, he sent a paddy wagon. He picked up a whole bunch of us. I
Wow.
remember I was sitting in the union building and they came in with a list of names. They called my name and some other people and piled us into what you would know as a police van.
Mm-hmm.
And they hauled us out to Little Rock, man. And I was getting ready to go to band practice because we were going to play the halftime show for the Kansas City Chiefs, man.
Mm.
That was in and that was in October, and I ended up in the army. That's how I got in. I went kicking and screaming, man. But uh,
So,
but that's how it happened.
wow. Again, more I did not know, but
Those are just things that happened in my journey. There's
yeah.
a lot of stuff. But I like
So,
what you're doing with this, man. This could be valuable for a lot of us in the family because we know very little about each other,
right. That's
and
and that
it's
that's the intention of it. So, let me ask you
yeah.
this.
But
So,
anyway, I ended up in
no, go ahead.
but yeah, but Colonel Batiste, his prophecy came true. He sent and I know he didn't have direct responsibility for it, but I
Mm-hmm.
did basic training, did my advanced training, and went straight to Vietnam,
Wow. So, what
just
was
like
your
he
what,
said
what
would
was your
happen.
MOS?
It was I don't remember the numbers now, but I was a combat medic.
Combat
And the
medic.
reason that I got into medicine is because I worked at a funeral home and I knew a lot about anatomy and physiology.
Okay.
I worked at Brown Funeral Home. And so, I knew how to embalm people and all that kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I did the test, I tested really well in the medical part.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up being a combat medical training. And then once I was done with that, I did that training at Fort Sam Houston, and then boom, straight to Vietnam after that.
Now, to
And
what degree did you feel comfortable, or what was your time in Vietnam? What was that time like for you as a young man?
well, I'm gonna be honest with you, nephew. When I first got over there, I was scared to death.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got out on the battlefield. I was out with the grunts, and that I was their medic, and their lives were depending on me. Like and then all of a sudden I realized that hey, everybody else out here is trying to kill people, and my job is to save lives. So I took that as a special mission that God had given me is to save as many lives as possible. So I got real comfortable with it. In fact, so comfortable that it was something romantic about bullets whizzing over my head, man. It got that
Wow.
bad.
What?
so so yeah, that's what it was like. But the comfort level came after my first big battle.
Mm-hmm.
We got ambushed. We lost the first 11 guys.
Mm,
So I was like, triaging and trying to save people. I lost a few. Had to threaten some people to keep them from dying.
mm, mm-hmm.
did all kinds of stuff. But that let me know that, hey, this ain't no joke. This ain't no
Mm-hmm.
game.
Mm-hmm.
They doing that. People are dying out here. And so from that point on, I was just, I stayed in prayer about it. And I made some promises to God that
Mm-hmm.
if he let me get away, or not get away, but if he let me survive it,
Mm-hmm.
that I would, be his the rest of my life. I made that promise to him. And
Amazing.
uh, and I survived it, you know. Yeah. So
Amazing. Amazing.
so yeah, so
Um,
that was the Vietnam experience, and then he gave me peace of mind about it. And
mm-hmm.
Mother Dear would write me all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and tell me that she was praying for me, and I got letters from the Tate, from the Tate side.
Mm-hmm.
Especially my older sister Euroline, she used to write me a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and so I used to get a lot of mail from a lot of different people. My
Mm-hmm.
church used to write me, so I had peace of mind because I had those connections, and a lot of guys didn't have it because the government, what they did was they really got mostly kids that were on the street or not doing anything, but were of the age where they were expendable.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of guys over there in Vietnam with no family, no connection, no nothing, So I did my Mother Dear thing with them,
Mm-hmm.
and tried to help them out as much as possible and did stuff like that, those kinds of things. So it worked out. But like I said, I went kicking and screaming, man. I didn't want to go. I was a protester. But
Mm-hmm.
once I got over there and did it, met
Mm-hmm.
some really great people. Well, then when I came out, it was like, man, I'm going back in, but I'm gonna go in the
Right.
Air Force, and so that's what I did. Yeah,
Right. Okay.
but
Okay.
yeah,
Now, when you got back, now at this, when did you and Aunt Brenda got married in what year?
1975, December 29th,
1975.
1975. We'll be 49 years in December.
Whew, let me give a round of applause for that. But my goodness. So you and Aunt Brenda, this magical love story. Um, what question do I want to ask you? Well, so you met her all the way back in fifth grade. Y'all
Yeah,
stayed friends through uh
through
all
high
that
school.
time. When did the
Yeah.
love connection happen?
Okay. All right. So the love connection came, and I know this is gonna sound crazy. Okay. So
Okay.
when I got ready to come home, I did my last combat mission,
Mm-hmm.
and I survived. And I prayed to God. I said, "Okay, Lord, you spared me. Thank you. But now I want a family." I said, "I want a family." And then I prayed the proudest prayer that I could pray. I was like, "Lord, I want a woman that's tall and high yellow with long hair." And I'm serious, Jay. And I asked, that's what I asked for. And then when I came home, you know, uh, Brenda was one of the first people that I talked to because she was a really good, we were really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw her, I didn't really recognize her because when I left, she was a girl. And when I
Mm-hmm.
came back 2 years later, she was a woman, man. She was
She was
like,
a woman.
boom, boom. That's right. And I was like, and I lost my mind for a second. I was like, Smitty, that's what I called her because her name was Brenda Smith. And so I said, Smitty, what happened to you? But she was banging, man. I was like, and so, so I was like, well, hey, she turned to a woman while I was gone. Well, then it was October and school had already started. So she went and talked. She was working on campus in a work study program or something. And so she went and talked to her boss, who was one of the professors, and convinced him to let me back in school. Okay.
Hmm.
And so I had to make up 2 months of work in a couple of weeks. So she helped me do that. And so during that time, we were sitting, we were working in close proximity, and she smelled funny and she was all curvy and everything, man. And one night I just lost it and kissed her.
Ooh.
And I felt terrible, but I just couldn't help myself, man. And then I was in my own head. I was thinking, God, this can't be the one.
Right.
We talked about this. I said, long hair and
Hmm.
and tall. And you
Hmm.
sent me somebody short, dark, with a
Hmm.
nappy afro, the exact opposite. And the answers from there, the prayer came back and said, trust me, boy, you don't like this.
Mm.
And we've been together ever since. But that was the thing. And I still think it's funny today because she's the exact opposite of what I asked for. So God knows what you need. He knows.
Absolutely. Like what's that saying? You make plans and you make God laugh or something like that. I can't remember how that saying goes, but you guys have built a family and a love story that I'm sure you couldn't have imagined. You know what I mean? You guys have
Exactly.
been
And I could not have imagined her, me being involved with her romantically because she was one of the guys, man. She used to like
yeah,
be out there playing with us and we'd have on the back of our bicycles riding around. She was
right.
one of the guys.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she, while I was gone, she turned to a woman and then she just, I don't know, she swept me off her feet, man. And when she left Pine Bluff, man, I stayed down. Okay, I was still in school.
Mhm.
She moved to St. Louis in 73 because she got a
Mhm.
job with the government.
Mhm.
And hey, man, I couldn't live without her. I just, one day, I jumped in my car, took off, went to St. Louis. I went to her house, fell on my knees, and asked her to marry me.
That's how you ended up in
And
St. Louis, dude.
yeah, that is how I ended up in St. Louis. And we went to the courthouse a few days later and got married on the 29th. I went up there. Well, what it was, I went to see her for Christmas.
Okay.
She was up there, and we got out for Christmas break.
Mhm.
So I went up there to see her, man. But when I got there, I was like, I didn't tell her, hey, I can't live without you, but
Mhm.
I knew that I couldn't, and so I just, while I was there, I fell on my knees, man, and asked her to marry me. Like
Mm.
she said, okay. So we went to the to the county seat, which was Clayton,
Mhm.
there in St. Louis, and got married on the 29th of December, 1975.
1975. My
And then
word.
yeah, and then I went back and finished school
Mhm.
after that. But yeah, once God put us together, it was like, I don't know, it was a perfect fit.
Yeah. Agreed.
And we had our ups and downs like everybody else, but the
Of
thing
course.
was, we never reached a point where we wanted to separate or,
Mhm.
take a break from each other, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And me being in the military, I guess that helps some.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I really noticed about when you stay married this long
Mhm.
is that at some point, Jay, if you stay married, you and your wife will really, really become one. And I don't know when that happened for me and your Aunt Brenda, but it
Mhm.
has happened. And now we are equal partners in all things and in all ways.
Okay.
And it's just wonderful, man. It's a wonderful thing. But
Okay.
at some point it will happen. Because they say that at they say that cliche. Um, you know, the two will become one.
Mm-hmm.
You never really think about it, but for us, it's actually happened.
That's beautiful.
At some point it happened, and now we are this one thing under God. United under God, and it's a beautiful thing. I think it's added years to my life. It's added peace of mind. It's added to my health. I
Mm-hmm.
don't worry. I don't stress.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a cool thing, man.
Yeah.
Really a cool thing.
I talk
But
about that
I don't
often
know
with
when it
folks.
happened.
I talk about that with folks often, with men, that you can't put a price on peace. You can't, to have a peaceful household and a peaceful
Yeah, you can.
relationship. I mean, it's invaluable. And I know you guys have that. I still remember one of my fondest memories of my wedding and you guys being there was y'all dancing together. Y'all had took them dancing lessons and y'all was, I can't remember what dance y'all were doing out there, but that's one of
Yeah,
my
we was
fond
on. Yeah, because
memories.
we took some lessons on a ship,
Yeah.
man.
I remember that.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
That is
it's
cool.
I think
Yeah,
that's the
and we've
goal, that you want to
we've been
become one.
fortunate. Yeah, yeah, but you really don't know how to do it. See, that's the thing.
Right.
I think you don't there's no book. There's no like manual for it on how to become one with your wife. It just happens if you stay together and you put God first,
Mhm.
then He makes it happen at some point.
Mhm.
And because like I said, I can't tell you when it happened, but
Yeah.
it has happened for us, and it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing, man. It is a really beautiful thing. Now
Now,
do we still have disagreements? Yeah, but
of
they
course.
are secondary to the love that we have for each other.
Mhm.
None
Yeah.
of it, nothing now overshadows our devotion to each other. Not a single thing. And
Yes,
I
sir.
think when you're young, stuff can overshadow your what you have between you and your wife. Because I remember when I was playing in the clubs in St. Louis.
Mhm.
Sometimes she would say, "Hey, can you like come to home early tonight or whatever?" I'm like, "Hey, I don't know. The gig go there. They might want to encore, blah blah blah." There will, I would try to figure out a way to not to do what I wanted to do, and not ever complain about it or whatever. But then it got to a point where those things don't overshadow our relationship anymore. We just, you know, um, are at peace with each other's decisions and that kind of thing. It's hard to explain,
No,
but that's where
I
we are,
totally
man.
get it. I'm there at a younger
It is
stage
a
of
beautiful
it, but
thing.
I'm still evolving. And
Yeah,
I think Liz and I were just having a conversation about, I'm always talking to her about not becoming complacent and stagnant in the relationship. While things are quote unquote good, I always want to strive to get better. And a part of that, I was even
exactly. Yeah,
sharing
that's
with her. I didn't even know her nowhere near as long as you knew Aunt Brenda. But when I met Liz at Central Texas College, she was 17, and she's getting ready. She gonna be mad at me for saying, but she's getting
okay.
ready to turn 40 in December, the 26th. You know what I mean? So I've known
Okay, that's
her
quite that's
that span of time, and I was telling her how I want to always give her space to grow and evolve, not as my wife, not as a mom, but just as a woman, and go through those things in
yes,
life and
yes,
those
and see that is the
evolutions and
key.
changes. Yeah. You know, we were
That is
just
the
talking
key,
about that.
man. Is you have to let them grow. You cannot stymie their growth.
Hmm.
Otherwise, what you find out is you stymie your own growth when you do that.
Right.
You know, you stymie your own growth when you do that.
Yeah.
And I learned those lessons along the way.
Hmm.
Doing just you know staying prayerful and doing the thing. And okay, and so bottom line though, Jay, is that the glue for us has been that we both believe in God the same,
Yes, sir.
you know, and so we're able to share that, and we're able to get what we need from that spiritual relationship to sustain us in our weakness as humans. You know, that spiritual thing sustains us in it so that we can move on from a, you know, from a disagreement or an argument and that kind of thing. We can move forward from it and it doesn't like linger and uh poison, you know, our future like it used to do when we
Mhm.
were
Mhm.
from, you know. I
Mhm.
remember I was staying out all night when I was younger, you know, because as a musician, man, you know, you get a lot of attention
Mhm.
out there at these clubs and things, man, and the
Mhm.
temptation is strong. It's
Yes, sir.
really strong.
Mhm.
But because I, you know, shared that spiritual bond with her, I
Mhm.
was able to honor our marriage and not get involved while I was out, you know, out there playing and that kind of thing. So I am real thankful for that, you know, just totally thankful for that. But that is the glue.
Yes,
That's the
sir.
glue for us, you know.
Yes, sir.
And for, you know, for other people it could be something else, but for me and her, it was our mutual belief in a higher power,
Yes, sir.
and that's the glue that held us together all these years. You
And you know
know,
what? I want to take one
and
step
that
back though,
includes
because you
family.
talked about when did you start like doing like paid gigs and stuff as a musician?
Okay, so when I finally finished college and moved to St. Louis,
Mhm.
I didn't have a job, so I
Mhm.
went down to the musicians union. At the time, they were thriving. Went to the musicians union and got a card, paid my dues. And so when you're a member of the union, they will send you out on these gigs. Okay, and so my first gig was at Six Flags. They had live music at the time out there, so they sent me out on a Fourth of July gig
Uh-huh.
at Six Flags over Mid America, and that's where I
Wow.
first started playing. Then I played with a lot of the local groups around and that sort of thing. So I was on the music scene for several years, uh, you know, and it was good. You know, it was good, but uh, you know, once the kids started growing up, I knew I needed to be around for them. So I
Mhm.
had to get a, you know, what I quote real job, a real job to do it. So I started, you know, started teaching after that.
Yes, sir. So,
But
'cause you guys don't know is that he's very reserved now, but this dude, he was one of the cool uncles. You know, I can remember we were standing out in front of Muddy's house one time, and I hadn't seen you in years. And you came up because y'all he was one of them brothers. He had the cool talk like that, and he walks up to me and said, "Yeah, man, I'm the one that showed your dad how to make babies." Yeah.
oh wow, I wouldn't put that back. You know, I could believe that because at one time I was full of it. You know, so so yeah, I could see me saying that to him because I did think I was cool. You know, so
Nah, he's pretty cool,
in a
man. You
lot of
know.
ways I am, but not not like that. But
Yeah,
yeah, I could
yeah.
see me saying that. I was that I was that guy at one time, man. You
Yes,
know,
sir.
and but yeah, when I was in college, though, your father helped me get through college, man. I used to take him to, I had a side gig as a
Mm-hmm.
janitor with the
Oh,
local
yes.
school district. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if he ever told you about this, but I used to
Yeah.
take him to work with me, tell him what to do, and he would do my job for me,
Yeah. He told me.
while I was off messing around and pledging cap. I remember, especially during the pledge time. When I pledged,
Mm-hmm.
he saved my life. He
Mm-hmm.
saved my job because he would go and clean those schools for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'd drop him off at the school and he would like clean it up and do that kind of thing. So yeah, he was a big part of me getting through college. And helping me, get going with that. And he was good at it too. And he
Yeah.
didn't complain about it. I paid him like $10 or something.
Mhm.
And he would do my job for me. That
Yeah.
was a beautiful thing, man. I don't know if
Yeah,
he ever
he
talked to you about that.
he's told me that before. Cuz he really the two that he brings up as far as who was instilling things in him and who were his frames of reference. Cuz I always ask him, "Dad, who is your frame of reference?" And he talks about Uncle Michael and you know what I mean, as far as people that instilled a lot of things in him as far as what he saw and who he looked up to and those kinds of things. And that's why, I have a different of course I love all of our family, but I have a different level of honor and respect because I feel like because of your influence on him and then to me, so on and so forth, my influence to Trey, again, you're a part of the fabric of who I am as a man, so I'm indebted to you
Yeah.
for that. I can't thank
Well,
you enough for that. So, but
that
yeah, he
is
definitely shared that with me. He told me another
that is
funny.
a very high compliment.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, it's real. I mean,
That is a very high compliment, Jay.
yeah. Me and even Unc, it was on my mom's side. I was very close with my cousin Mario that you just recently, when you were here, you met. Oh, that's Mary's son. Da 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 da.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
it was Tony and Adrian, and then me and Tim would go forever without seeing each other, but as soon as I would see Timber, I just had this connection with her. You know what I'm saying? It was like she was my sister, man. I mean, I me and her going back and forth, cracking jokes on each other, and I mean, all that type of stuff. I still have fond memories of hanging out with Timberly and coming to y'all's house in St. Louis and uh all that. So even when Trey a few years ago when he stayed with my parents and then he was able to come to your house, it's just this big all this full circle stuff that's happening now that just blows my mind. But I'm just
Yeah,
thankful
and
for
that's
our
cool, man.
family.
Yeah.
I'm just thankful for our family unit. And the fact that you'll jump on here with me to do this and uh I can't thank you enough for it. But now talking about kids, you and Brenda had children. You have how many did y'all had? Who was first, second, third, fourth?
And we had three children.
Three,
Brenda and
right.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Chandra, the oldest, who is deceased.
Mm-hmm.
Then Jocelyn, the middle
Yeah.
child, and then
Yeah.
Timberly. So
Yeah.
Jocelyn, Timberly, still here, and
Yeah.
we live right across the street from Timberly, here in Memphis.
Yeah. Timberly, the legend,
So
the
we're
guru, the
so yeah, those,
genius. Yeah. Yes. Hey, Uncle, look like you muted yourself. Hey, there you
okay,
go.
we back.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. I don't know how it just mutes automatically like that. But like I said, I'm real thankful now, to be part of a family that is there's that's stable.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of dysfunction, we have our ups and downs, but they're not like total dysfunction. Again, I know some families that are like that,
Yeah.
that are totally dysfunctional and that sort of thing. But we genuinely have, good, great relationships with each other,
Mm-hmm.
and that's important when you don't see each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You see, the thing is we don't lose ground with each other because we
Mm-hmm.
don't because we don't see each other often.
Mm-hmm.
We don't,
Yep.
but we don't lose ground. See,
Mm-hmm.
the relationship doesn't get affected,
Mm-hmm.
and that's to me that is a beautiful thing. Yeah, I can get on the phone and call your father. I can call your Uncle Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I can call you Uncle RC. I can call any of them and share
Mm-hmm.
my deepest, darkest secret with them and not
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm the weakest man in the world.
Mm.
And that is priceless. I mean,
Priceless.
absolutely priceless. Because as long as you're on this earth, you are going to have ups and downs and low moments and high moments in that, and we can share all of those things with each other, and that's priceless, absolutely
Yeah.
priceless.
Let me ask you this, Unc. So speaking of that, another again, you don't know this, but I watch you from afar, and you've had to deal with people transitioning in your life, from your daughters to your mother dear, to, I'm sure, people
Yeah.
on Aunt Brenda's side. If you could give the audience just a nugget of how to overcome, because I always heard people say you never necessarily get over it, but you do get through it. How have you gotten through
Yeah.
those moments?
Okay, for me, they all live on in my memory, man. They live
Mm-hmm.
on in my memory. I
Mm-hmm.
their earthly bodies go away, and then in Mother Dear's case, and in my mother-in-law's case, they lived full lives into their 70s, and Miss Smith was 90 when she
Mm-hmm.
passed away. But
Yes, sir.
the way that I have closure in that is because they actually never die. They live on in my memory, and so that is how I stay stable and maintain myself with that,
Mm-hmm.
because actually they're not gone. They're
They're
right here
still
in my
there.
noodle, man.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
So
sir.
so that's how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
But other people might do it differently, because I know people who have lost loved ones and they never got over it.
Mm-hmm.
Your cousin Trey is one of them. He still
Mm-hmm.
hasn't gotten over his mother, Sean,
Mm-hmm.
passing away, man. Your
Mm-hmm.
cousin Sean, her oldest son is
Mm-hmm.
still suffering. And she
Oh.
died in 2018,
Mm-hmm.
and he is still suffering from it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so he needs to find a way forward, But like I said, for me, they live on right here
Yes, sir.
and here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that's how I move forward with it.
Yeah, that's one thing that I try to get better at, is how I deal with people transitioning, and it's funny, when I was younger, my connection with mortality, because it's far down the road, was kind of blasé with it. You know what I mean? Of course, when Muddy passed and when
Yeah,
Uncle Jesse passed or
been
whatever,
there, been there.
I felt some kind of way about it. I did, but what was a tipping point for me is there was right before COVID. We had a close friend of ours, their daughter passed, and then our pastor passed, and then another uh a guy that was an auxiliary leader for us at church passed. Then COVID came, and I had friends pass and all this, and my brain is just like, God, what is
Yeah,
this, right? So in full transparency, I'm always trying to master Jay's ego and how highly of myself I think sometimes, right? And so I'm literally
yeah,
talking to God like, God, I don't want to go through the death process. I don't want to have to deal with that. And he said, Jay, you're asking me for you not to go through something that everybody that came before you has had to deal with. And I was like, mm.
yeah. That is a proud prayer there, boy. I thought
Proud.
I was praying when I asked for
I'm
tall
telling
and
you.
high yellow. That tops
I'm
that
telling you.
that takes the cake there.
I'm telling you, that's my ego is that big, and I have to deal with it. Like, Jay, really? Your ancestors, everybody, again, your grandparents,
That's
because
right. If you want to be exempt,
I want to be exempt though. That, hey, God, that's how because in the other part where that made me think about what we're doing, and because my mom's side, I didn't know my grandfather. Of course, didn't know my grandfather on this side. My mom's mother, by the time we went to Italy and came back, she had gotten sick at church, and then she basically never woke up again. And I have no tangible, only grandparent I have tangible memories with is Mother Dear. And so that's another part of this that I wanted
Oh,
folks to
really?
have
Okay. Okay.
something tangible that they could touch from when I say Napoleon Carter, and I can say this is him right here. You know what I mean? I've never seen a picture of my
Uh-huh.
mom's dad. I don't even know what she tells me that he was similar, short dude like me, you know what I mean? But I've never seen this man. I don't know what he looked like, anything, you know what I mean? So that's a big part of this. But yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely was talking to God with that, man. And he's like, Jay, you gotta, it's something that you gotta do, but you help me with those memories that you have. You can't ever take those things away. You can always go back to those fond memories um, that you have with your family and your loved ones, and they live in your mind, also in here though, in your heart, in those moments and stuff like that. But
Yeah, in both those places. And the thing is, Jay, is it's up to you to create those memories.
there you
You
go.
have control of that. You can create the memories, you
Yes,
know.
sir.
So it ain't like, they robbing you when they pass away.
Right. Yes, sir.
It's that if you haven't created memories with them, then it's on you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See?
One hundred
That's
percent.
how it works.
One
So,
hundred
but yeah,
percent.
they live on in your memory.
Yes, sir. So as we go forward, you and Brenda, children, you've lived this life. At Where would you say for you as a man that you felt like you, for a lack of a better way of putting it, hit your stride as a man? Like when did you feel like you
Oh,
had kind of figured this thing out?
1995, man. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
1995, I finally sat down and said, "Oh my God, so this is what I am, and this
Mm-hmm.
is what I'm going to be for the rest of my life. So I'm just going to improve on it."
Okay.
I kept a journal for years, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1995, for some reason, okay, I'm a person who doesn't like to be idle. I like to be doing stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so on my birthday, in my journal, I wrote, "I have finally filled every waking moment with some kind of activity. Now, if I didn't have to eat or sleep, I could really rock and roll." I wrote that in my journal in January, June 26, 1995. And that is what made me realize that I had become the person that God wanted me to become. And it was up to me to to spend every day thereafter trying to
Mm-hmm.
improve on it. And so that's what I've been doing, man.
Wow.
But that's when I realized it, 1995. It hit me like a ton of bricks. And
Wow.
and I was,
1995.
thinking, hey, yeah, I was like, this is who I am. I need to stay active and engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when I thought about it, it was like, I could do more. If I didn't have to eat or sleep, I could do even more, which was, which is overkill. But I'm just saying that was when I realized who I really was. And that I didn't have to emulate anybody anymore. I didn't have to, I had gathered the best pieces of the people that I admired, and I had gotten all those things. And then I realized who I really was,
Mm-hmm.
and at some point it will happen. At some point that will happen to you if it hasn't already. But
Mm-hmm.
I just remember mine, 1995, June 26th. I realized who I really was.
So if you're on the outside looking in, who is Napoleon Carter? How would you describe
Well, I am
yourself?
a man who, okay. Number one, I am a man who believes in the institution of marriage. Okay. I believe in that. And, well, that's not the number one thing. Number one, I am a man who fears God. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, I believe in the institution of marriage. and I believe in the institution of family. Those things have nourished me and sustained me. And if I found that when I discovered me,
Mm-hmm.
the person who I was, I discovered that those are the things that nourish and inform everything that I do.
Mm-hmm.
All of the work that I was doing and all of that, the work, the community service, all of that was because I wanted my family and God and my marriage to be nourished from it. All of those things. Uh, so that's uh, how I would describe myself. And I'm not, and I found out, I'm not that complicated. I'm really not.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I was, but I'm not. Actually, I'm pretty simple. Is that I believe in God, number one. I believe in the institution of marriage, and I believe in family. And those three things caused me to do a lot of different things to support that trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Mm-hmm.
stuff that I'm doing is all I can, so that God will be pleased with me if that's possible, so that my family will be proud of me if that's possible. Okay. And I forgot what I said at 30 else now. I'm old.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, and my marriage, and
Yes,
it
sir.
strengthens my marriage. That's what it is. So it's God, the institution of marriage and family. So everything that I do now is to strengthen those three things.
Mm-hmm.
Strengthen the connection between those three things.
Yeah, indeed.
So I
With
got a simple formula now that's easy for me to follow.
yeah, I think
Go ahead.
I think that's really what a lot of times dudes are typically more simplified than we're given credit for. You know what I mean? So I our pastor uh that passed his wife, she had a message years ago, and I think I can't remember the title, but she talks about how men are actually more. I think is men are deep and then women are complex or something. And she talked about this balance between the two. But basically, she talked about how men are actually more simple. Liz asks me certain things now, and I'm just like, I really know, you good, the kids good, whatever. So I definitely can identify with that. Now, taking one other step back, when you went back to the Air Force, did you still do med stuff, or what? You changed MOS at that point? What did you do?
No, no, I just crossed over into the blue
Mm-hmm.
as a medic, and then God dropped some opportunities in my lap. When I went back into the Air Force, they gave me another stripe. Actually, I was a spec. I was a E4.
Mm-hmm.
So for crossing over into blue, they gave me another stripe, which made me an E5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was the first, indication that hey, this might work out for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then I started working at a hospital as a medic, working in a hospital in pediatrics. I started there, and then I graduated to the more intense stuff. Started working in the ER and then ICU.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had been, had experience with people that were in critical condition out on the battlefield and that sort of thing. And so that wasn't, so I was able to handle the stress of that. A lot of people just don't have the stomach for it, man. Seeing people dying and all that. Well, I had seen all of that.
Yep.
So I was good to go with that. But then an opportunity came up for me to be commissioned. Okay. And all I had to do was write an essay about NATO peacekeeping. I don't know if you're familiar with NATO. It's a North Atlantic Treaty Organization. There's a bunch of countries
Mm-hmm.
involved in, it, and we provide defense. They provide defense for each other
Mm-hmm.
against enemies and that kind of thing. So I write the essay, and it is chosen as one of the top 3 essays for the deserving airman's program, which the prize is that you get commissioned as an officer. And that goes back to Mother Dear reading to us, and she used to show us how to write stories and all of that kind of thing. So, and I never really thought about it, you know. But it turns
Mm-hmm.
out I was a really good writer, man, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even know it.
Right.
So I write the essay and win the prize. I got commissioned in 1984. They sent me a commission in the mail. So I go to bed one night and I'm a Spec 5. I mean, an E5, and then I wake up the next day, I'm a lieutenant, man. And,
Mm-hmm.
and from there, went through the ranks up to lieutenant colonel, and it was a good fit again. And so I was like, yeah, this is good stuff. But it all comes back to what we were talking about: God, marriage, family. The reason I, did all I could to excel at those things was to strengthen the connection between those 3 things.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you're not conscious of it at first
Mm-hmm.
until you are actually able to sit back and look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you asked me that question helped
Mm-hmm.
me understand that is why.
Yeah.
That is why.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever asked me, and I never really sat down and figured it out on my own. So thank you, nephew. Because see, now I know that is why I do the
Mm-hmm.
things that I do, is to strengthen the connection between those 3 things.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And so it's a really cool thing. But anyway, that's how I did the Air Force thing, and then once I made lieutenant colonel, I think I was a major when I came to see you in Germany, and
Okay.
took your
Yeah.
bed from
I willingly gave my bed up to him, y'all, but he did come and hang out with us and took my bed, but it's all good.
you.
But
That was one of the joys of my life, man. It really was, is to meet my brother and his family,
Mhm.
overseas somewhere.
Yeah.
That was priceless, man. And then y'all took me to church with you, and
Yep.
and all of that. I slept in your bed, man. I just. And for some reason, that's the first thing that I think about, is that you gave up your bed for me.
Mhm.
And that makes me teary. It really does. Every time I think about it, Jack. And I don't know
Yeah.
how old you were or whatever, but you didn't complain or any of that.
Well,
In fact, I
like you
remember you.
said,
You don't remember this because you were young,
yeah.
but your dad made you uh, help me put some sheets and stuff on the bed.
Oh, I don't
And
remember
you came in
that.
the yeah, you came in your room with the bedclothes in your hand, and then you started putting them on the bed,
Oh,
and you
yeah.
started. We the two of us made
Mhm.
up the bed,
Oh, wow.
which was a really cool thing. Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't
but
remember
but
that,
you
but I
never.
do I do remember when you came, and just the fact, Unc, that we had somebody from the fam coming to see us in Germany. When my dad was telling me, your
Yeah.
Uncle Napoleon is coming. I'm like, over here? I'm like, it just, my mind was blown. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that is one of my fondest memories, man. It's to see it. Yeah, it's meeting my family over there.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
how cool was
same
that?
thing.
Yeah, that was a really cool thing.
So how did you get into I know you just finishing up stuff with the chess club, and you got into teaching. How did that trek in your life happen where you got involved in that kind of stuff?
And the chess thing.
Mhm.
Well, the teaching thing, I'll start with that. Okay, once I decided, hey, this musician thing ain't gonna work if I'm gonna be the husband and father that I need to be.
Mhm.
I'm gonna need to get a job that's gonna allow me to spend more time with my children and my wife.
Mhm.
Okay, and so that was the teaching thing. So I, you know, uh, went ahead and buckled down to get a teaching job. So I, landed the teaching job and started teaching, and that was in 1977. And then in '86, I got an opportunity to teach math and science at one of the top school districts in the country. They were in the top 10 at the time. So I interviewed with them, got through the interview. They hired me as a math and science teacher. But the thing is, I never taught math and science. At the time, computers had just hit the classroom. For some reason, they thought math teachers should be the ones to dispense the new knowledge. So I ended up teaching computers for the next 30 years. so that was a strange coincidence,
Mhm.
but it worked out. And that district was a really good fit. I just retired in May from there, from the coaching thing, from chess. So I retired in 2012 after your Aunt Brenda and I had dealt with some health issues, and I retired. And then they asked me if I would come back and just teach chess, and so I decided to do that. And so I went back and taught just chess to all, to the entire district up until this past May. And, did some stuff along the way. I won the state championship 18 times during that span. So I started teaching chess in 91. I started coaching in 91.
Mhm.
Okay, so that would be 33 years. Okay, so out of that 33 years, I won the state championship 18 times. Never finished less than fourth. I always finished in the top five uh, in all 33 of those years. And, and God really blessed me because in this last year, I won the state championship again
Mhm.
right before I retired. And I got inducted into the Educators Hall of Fame in Missouri,
Wow.
which was really cool. So,
Mhm.
so, so yeah. So I finished, finished up with a bang, and it was really cool. It's really great. So, but yeah, that all of it was a really great fit. Now, a really great fit. So I'm lucky. I feel like I'm really, no, not lucky, blessed.
Absolutely.
I was really
Absolutely.
blessed, for my professional career. It was a great fit all the way through,
Mhm.
military and civilian. It
Mhm.
was all good, man. And,
Mhm.
you know, and I think, and now looking back, I think it's because I kept God first.
Yep.
You know, I
Mhm.
really think that is the reason that it went well. Not to say that there wasn't hard time, there weren't up and downs because there's always peaks and valleys,
Mhm.
but I was always able to move forward, always. And
Mhm.
that is priceless stuff.
Yeah,
I never
it
got
is.
knocked down where I couldn't get up,
Mhm.
or never encountered an event that I couldn't bounce back from.
Mhm.
That sort of thing. And with God's help, I was able to do it. He delivered me from a bunch of stuff. Because I, truth be told, I'm a high risk. I'm a risk taker, Jay.
Mhm.
So I could have gone down a really bad path. I really could have gone down some paths of no return.
Yes, sir.
and but God kept me, man.
So, with your taking it one more step back as you talk about the importance of marriage, how important in your opinion is that balance between the husband and wife as far as personality types? How did Aunt Brenda help to balance some of that risk taking in you?
Okay, well, the thing is we are opposites in a lot of ways, but we're alike in a lot of ways. Let's see, the one way that we're alike is we both believe in God the same way. Okay, so
Yeah.
that is the glue.
Mhm.
But then there are certain things that you have to accept about your partner, your spouse,
Mhm.
that maybe that you don't necessarily like.
Mhm.
A quirk in your aunt, for instance. Okay, when she is annoyed, she used to hiss like a snake. If you said something to her and she got annoyed, she would like hiss like a snake. and that, and that would bother me. And so we would sit down and talk about it.
Mhm.
It's like, hey, that is a really, really bad habit, you know, optics wise and everything. And when you do it in front of the kids, they laugh and snicker, and then they're gonna push your button to make you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember when they noticed that if she got annoyed that she would hiss like a snake, then they would push her buttons.
Okay.
I said that those kids, they figured out they like it when you do that because it's
Right.
funny to them. Somebody don't let them do it. So so she worked on it. Now she doesn't do that anymore. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so and then that might not be the best example, but that's one of the ways we balance each other. That we're not
Mm-hmm.
afraid to say, "Hey, let's talk about this," and we do it in a way where we step out of our roles as husband and wife, and we
Mm-hmm.
just be friends. We be Nepo and Smitty.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will say it to her. I'll say, okay, I need to talk to Smitty
Wow.
about
Okay.
stuff that Brenda's doing, and then so we could talk about it and not get offended or any of that because she know because see, we are really great friends. And
Yeah.
so if I can stop it, we can stop everything and say, okay, I need to talk to Smitty. Or
Okay.
she'll, things aren't going great for her in some kind of way, related to me. She'll say, "Hey, I need to talk to Nepo and let's, talk to him about something." And so we can sit down and do that, man. And it's a really cool thing because I can tell Smitty, my friend Smitty, what's really going on, and she's not gonna judge me. You know,
Man, you
she'll just
dropping
listen,
gems on
and
us,
then
man. You are dropping gems. Hmm.
I'm just saying that's how we do it. I mean, that's I don't know if anybody else does it, but I'm just saying that's how we do it. Is that we can step out of those roles and talk to our friends. We can talk as friends and not be judgmental about it or whatever. And then when we go back into the husband wife role, uh, the situation is a lot better because then we have talked to our friends about it and got some advice. Got some advice about it. So I like that about our relationship is that we can do that. That I can talk to my friend Smitty, and
Mm,
obviously, and we also have another personality. Well, it's not another personality, but another entity that we use. Okay, when we are talking about intimacy and stuff like that.
mm-hmm.
Okay, I have a girlfriend named Marty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, and I'm not sure your audience should be listening, hearing this, but you got me open now, so I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Marty is my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm feeling a certain way about our romantic piece, I talk to Marty about it.
Okay.
Okay, and so Marty will then tell me things that will help our romantic life.
Okay.
And she does the same thing. I forgot what her nickname for me was in that romantic thing, but Brenda and Smitty and Marty are the same they're, all of them are the same woman.
No,
But I
you
get
you
different
supposed to
things
be
from
telling
each
us
one of them.
this. You supposed to be telling us this
And that's a
because
really cool,
what you're
that's a really
talking
cool thing.
about and talking about the evolution, and I was sharing with you briefly that uh, Liz and I were just going through something similar where I was sharing with you about giving her space to grow and evolve and share with me.
Yeah,
And I was telling her that as you grow and like I said, not as my wife, not as the mom, just you. What do you think? What are you
yeah,
going through?
yeah,
And we have to give each other space in the marriage and relationship to be vulnerable like that in those different arenas. And it's a judgment free zone. You guys have given each
yeah,
other different personalities where we're like, okay, well, we need to talk about this. I need to talk to Smith, this side of it. I need to talk to Marty, but that's basically giving name to the free space to say what you have to say and be able to be
Yeah, and
honest
see,
with your
and those
spouse
are
about
safe
it.
spaces. See, that's the
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, those are the things. They are safe spaces for us. So
Hmm.
when I talk to Smitty, you know, it's like going back and getting her on the back of my bicycle and we just take off and ride. And she's on that back, the little, I forgot what they call that seat that used to be on the back of those. And we just ride and talk.
Hmm.
That's what I be thinking in my head. We just be riding and talking.
Right.
So I talked to Smitty about certain stuff in that space. And
Hmm.
then, if I need to talk to Marty,
Hmm.
usually that setting is she and I at lunch or dinner or something.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm taking her out on a date or whatever, and then we're talking, and it's a safe space emotionally and psychologically. And each time, Jay, that I do that, I get a psychological boost,
Hmm.
to go back and solve whatever the problem is that we were having.
Hmm.
So it's a really cool thing. So yeah, man. I didn't,
This is
and you're like making me think about this stuff, but I've never voiced it before, man. So I hope I'm articulating it okay. But I've
no,
never
this is
voiced this
this is
kind of thing.
perfect because again, talking about when I started the podcast, I always, again, talking about me, I never aspired to do, in my age bracket, being born in 1982, coming up in the hip hop world, there was a time where the
Yeah,
culture shifted and it was cool to be a street guy. You know what I'm saying? It was really, really
yeah, yeah,
cool. It was all in the music and everything, and gangs were becoming popular. Even in Germany, it became like a fad to get into a gang. It just was. It was
yeah,
big thing was folks and Crips in Germany. And I remember, several times cats tried to get me in. And even when I came back from Germany, this guy named David, I can't think of his last name, his brother, he's trying to get me to join folk. Yeah, we ain't gonna jump you in. We gonna bless you in. We like an organization. We trying to build a community. And then a few weeks later, I saw him have to get violated in the back of the school where they had to punch him in the face, 5 times in a row because he had done something wrong. And I'm like, that's not an organization. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, uh,
yeah.
I
That's
never
gang stuff.
I never aspired to do those things because of the example that I had of my father and then great men like yourself. I saw successful people, successful marriages. So I never had an aspiration where I was looking outside of this sphere that I was in to want to be like anything else because of I already had positive
Yeah,
examples right here. I mean, successful men, business owners, successful marriages. It was all right there. That stuff was just entertainment to me. So I never felt the push and the pull to mimic that, right? So what you're saying right now and why I wanted to start this podcast is because I'm like, I want people to see that in real life, I know people that have stories that can be a movie or, that have information like this that I mean would be a bestseller in a book. I know people like this in real life. I'm not making it up. So I wanted to introduce people to these people of why I didn't aspire to that other stuff like that because I had it really in real life. I could touch it, taste it, smell it, see it. You know what I mean? So how you're
yeah,
articulating
yeah.
this
I
is
totally get it,
perfect.
man. I totally get it.
It's perfect. It is perfect. And I'm gonna talk to Liz about this part, about the different parts of okay, hey, I need to talk, hey, I need to talk to that is revolutionary to me in marriage and
Oh,
relationships.
yeah, man. We've been doing that for years, man. It's just, and that's relieved a lot of tension and everything. You know, and one of the funny things about it. is if there is tension,
Mm-hmm.
sexual or otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
if I talk to Marty, she will relieve that tension if I need it, man.
Right, right,
You
right.
know, it's
Right.
it's it's like, and I know that, I'm trying to make it sound as clinical as possible,
Sure.
but yeah, it worked for us. I put it that way. When I talk to her, she, is my girlfriend, man, and so I
Yeah.
just,
Yeah. That's
can say,
beautiful.
hey, can you hold my head or whatever? Can I lay my head on your shoulder? And she'll,
Right. Yeah.
but I'm saying it gets to that kind of thing. But I'm glad to hear you say that. And again, you do me too much honor uh, in that regard. But the one of my regrets, and you mentioned that you came along in the hip hop era, in the
Mm-hmm.
golden age of hip hop, actually,
Mm-hmm.
and that is one of my deepest regrets, is that I never learned how to listen to hip hop, because
Mm.
when it first started, it all sounded the same to me.
Mm-hmm.
And as a musician, I should have had the wherewithal to actually learn how to listen to it, because that is how you enhance your enjoyment of it, is
Mm-hmm.
by learning what the message in the music is.
Mm-hmm.
And I never did learn that. And so to this day, I don't really know how to listen to rap, to hip
Mm-hmm.
hop. I don't really know how to listen to it. And I know that there are messages there that are good for everyone.
Sure.
It's not
Mm-hmm.
all bad, but I
Yeah.
never learned how to listen to it. So that is one of my greatest regrets, is that I never learned how to listen to hip hop.
Yeah. Even I can remember your brother. One time, Unc, I had my car parked in the driveway. I didn't think about it, but he had to move my car because I was blocking somebody at home. And I can't remember what I had playing, probably Unc, but he came out, boy, what is this mess you know what I'm saying? You listening to? And a lot of it was very, if I could say anything about it, even the stuff that was considered more negative or giving a screenshot into the street world, it was really just a poetic version of what they were going through and experiencing. You know what I mean? It's really it's
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
it's like anything else. It's just some of the poetry of it was graphic in the description of it, right? But that's why I was and oh, by the way, I think where some of my peers, where it may have been harder for them not to want to mimic it, is because unfortunately they didn't have that father that was right there as my real world example. So I was always able to make the divide between this is entertainment, this is my real life. And coming up as being a dude that was singing in the choir and doing theater and acting, I always had a more tight grasp of the performance of it all. You know what I mean? So I was like, because I would
yeah.
always logically say to myself, while there were some guys that were still living that life, I was like, okay, between photo shoots, being in the studio, being at doing shows, so on and so forth, it doesn't make sense that they would still have that much time to be doing all this other activity. You know what I mean? So I'm like, some of it is just
Yeah, yeah,
it is a creative license that they are using, and they are using their upbringing as a muse to paint these pictures. Now, part of the culture where we have to reconcile it is where we didn't admit to the youth that, hey, I just want you to know that this is total creative license. I'm not doing this right now, but this is a part of what I did
yeah.
do or what I went through and what I experienced. And then as a story arc goes in film, you know how you have it goes like this and up and back up, you hope to resolution. Where we missed it in the culture sometimes is that we didn't resolve it on the end to say you shouldn't be doing this, or this is the amendments and changes that I made to get to where I am now. We left it over here where it was just in the street life, and that was, they just left it open ended, which is some of the stuff, in the culture that I wish we would have done better. But as far as you listening to it, that's really what it is especially with you, the poetry of the trumpet and jazz and all that kind of stuff, it's really the same thing. It's like watching a movie, but they were putting it on wax, or putting it on the tapes. And I could see, from the Biggie Smalls to the Jay-Z's and different guys, where it was like you could almost, you could see in your mind's eye what they were talking about. You know what I mean? And one of the things with
Yeah,
a
yeah.
guy
See, I missed that.
like Jay-Z and talking about Biggie Smalls, the part of them that was even made when you would go back down and listen to their lyrics is they were known for never actually writing things down. They would put verses
They were
together,
doing it in their heads.
verses all in here, and then they would go into the booth and let the music play, and they would put it, but they would construct everything without putting any pen to pad. Nothing.
Man, that is ultimate creativity there and
Absolutely.
artistry. That is
Absolutely.
unbelievable.
Yeah, so Jay-Z,
Wow.
his reason for it was when he would be away from the house, sometimes he said he would have something to, or if he was around the house, he would write his lyrics down on something. But as he got older and his journey or time doing whatever he was doing, because he got involved in a lot of stuff, he was farther away from home and farther away from a place to be able to write down his thoughts. So he developed a skill of being able to memorize these things and these thoughts and these ideas.
Okay, and then they,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
see that is creativity at its best.
So that's the
Yeah,
part
he
of
can
hip
do
hop
that.
that
But yeah,
is like
I wish I had
amazing.
one.
Yeah, that's the part of it that's amazing, and that you do give a crew. It's no different. Again, unfortunate. The unfortunate part of it, some of it influenced the kids and the culture in a bad way. But it's no different than when we watch The Godfather or Training Day or whatever movie you can think of. It was written by somebody wrote that. Somebody wrote it. They just
Yeah,
put it in
that's true.
cinematic form though. This they were putting it to music. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
It's the same thing. Now you can attest to this too, that I think film and music though, music strikes a chord in you that's just different though. It hits elements of you that it just hits a different way with music sometimes than film. But you being a musician like that, you can understand it, but speak to it better than me.
yeah, yeah. I get it totally, man. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
why that was one of my regrets is that I didn't learn
Hmm.
how to listen to it and get the message from the
Yeah.
music. Because I did
Yeah.
that with jazz, pop, R&B,
Hmm.
folk, all of that different kind of music. I got those messages, but because of the negativity and some of the rap
Hmm.
music,
Yeah.
all the profanity and that kind of
Yeah.
thing, the use of the
Yeah.
N word and all of that,
Yep.
I sort of shut it out and didn't learn how to listen to it.
So as we taper this conversation down, and the thing with you and Brenda, I mean, I'm hyped and excited. Liz is out of town, but I'm about to call her and tell her about this. But uh, um, who were some of your musical influences?
Well, my biggest influence was your Uncle Jesse.
Yes, sir. Hmm.
Uncle Jesse was a genius.
He
Man,
was.
he just, he could hear something and then just play it
Hmm.
in one hearing only.
Hmm.
He could do that. He had perfect pitch. You play a
Yeah.
note, he could tell you what it was. He
Hmm.
could read music, he could write it. He did a lot of his own arrangements of songs with the choir
Hmm.
and that. And he could have been a rich man, to tell you the truth.
Hmm.
Uncle Jesse could have been a rich man, but money wasn't his thing.
Hmm.
He had Mother Dear's genes, and all he wanted to do was to share his gift with people.
Yes.
So he very seldom got paid I don't remember him ever having a salary at a church. They would just take up a collection and give him some money or whatever. And he'll take his choir out for ice cream and spend it all. But he could have been a rich man. He was
Hmm.
a genius, and he has recorded with some of the people that are like really famous now, like Smokey Norfolk,
Hmm.
Yolanda Adams.
Mhm.
Richard Smallwood,
Mhm.
the Clark sisters, Shirley Caesar.
Yeah.
He's played with all of those different people, you know,
Mhm.
and but he was my biggest influence. I love it, and I think Jay is because when he would play, I could feel it in my
Mm.
soul. I was
Mhm.
connected to him, and
Mhm.
so his music, when he would play it, it would get inside me, man, and it would just.
Mhm.
I can't
Yeah.
explain what it would do to me, but it
Yeah.
was. I was connected to it.
Mhm.
And so he was the number one influence, and I have yet to encounter anybody that had, the skills that he had as far as perfect pitch, as far as his reading and writing ability. The only thing that he couldn't sing, he could not sing worth a darn.
No, he could sing.
But he could do everything else. He could
Yeah.
not sing. I thought about that. But yeah, he was my biggest influence. And then, of course, Mother Dear, had some favorites of hers, like Curtis Mayfield, that she
Mhm.
played for me when we were young, and so I liked him. Uh, James Brown and people like
Mhm.
that, Temptations, Four Tops, Smokey
Mhm.
Robinson and Miracles, the Supremes,
Mhm.
uh, and people from way back. And then my grandmother was in the choir and that, and she influenced me and Jesse because she would take us with her to choir rehearsals and that kind of thing, and we would have to sit there quietly and listen to them do their hymnals and that. And
Mhm.
she was from the big band era, so she introduced us to uh, some of the names. I'm having trouble remembering the name. Duke Ellington, Count
Okay.
Basie.
Mhm.
Uh, she had stuff like that. Um, a lot of Cab Calloway.
Mhm.
She had, uh, those kind of influences. So we had a mesh of popular music and gospel, sacred music to that we were able to feed on when we were young. And so Jesse took it and reached the mountaintop with it. And one of my fondest memories about that is that in 1982, the year that you and Timberly were born,
Mhm.
Jesse came to St. Louis and he and I did a show, not a show, but we did a choir anniversary. I was president of the choir, and
Mhm.
he came and he and I did a concert
Oh wow.
with me on trumpet and him on the piano, on the keyboards, and we hired a couple other people to play with us. We had a drummer and another percussion guy, and we just had a beautiful time. And Louise has a picture of
Mm.
me playing the trumpet and him on the organ. It was great. It
Mhm.
was fantastic. But he was a genius, man, as
Yeah.
far as his music was concerned. And you know, and to this day, Jay, I'm gonna let you in on a secret about me feeling a certain kind of way about it.
Mhm.
Is that he loved music so much that it killed him. The thing that he
Yeah.
loved more than anything else in the world
Yeah.
was his
Yeah.
music,
Yeah.
and it
Over his
just
health and
overtook
everything
him.
else. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he just could not let go. Somebody would ask him to come and play in a bathroom, he'd do it. He couldn't
Mhm.
say no. And
Yeah.
I remember him coming in at 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning after being up all night playing and that. And somebody call him at 10 o'clock and say, hey, we're doing something at 2 o'clock. Can you come and play? Boom, he's out
Mhm.
again. So, to the detriment of his health and own well being, man, he gave it all up
Mhm.
to help those people who would listen to his music. So, and it didn't matter where he played. That's the thing. He's played at some really big venues like Powell Symphony Hall in St. Louis. He's played overseas
Mhm.
in a lot of places with that he traveled with Elder Hill.
Mhm.
But it didn't really matter, where he played. He just wanted to share that gift, man. And I just, I don't know. it makes me sad to think about that he died so young.
Mm-hmm.
But he just used himself up. And we'll never understand all that went on because it was complicated.
Yeah.
But the music, man, it was beautiful while we had it.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I remember going back, being home one time, and me and my dad went to, they still were having the Jesse Carter Day. You know what? I can't remember which church that was we went to, but I still bring his name up to certain musicians now. And they like, "That's your uncle? Your uncle was Jesse?" I'm like, "Yeah," and his name still, as they say, rings out. And I can remember him spending time showing me how
Yeah,
to play little songs on the keys and different things. And the other side of it, I always remember Uncle Jesse, when we would be visiting, he would always be coming home late from somewhere. He was always coming in late. I remember singing in the little Christmas performance at the church a
yeah,
couple
yeah.
times as a kid and talking about that people aspect. I can remember folks going, always coming by the house asking him for something, or somebody coming and knocking on his window to his room, and him handing some money or something out to somebody, just all different types of things like that. But like you said, he wanted to share that gift
I
and
didn't know
had
you
that.
were old enough to remember that, Jay. But
Yes, I
that's
remember all
exactly
of
what
that.
he used to do. I didn't know you were old enough to remember that. But yeah, kids would come to his window
Yep.
and he would hand them money out the window or food
Yes.
or whatever. Yeah, he
Something.
used to do that.
Yes. All the time.
Uh-huh.
I can remember
Yeah.
because, again, y'all, I had these magnificent people in my real life. Uncle Jesse was another one of them. And like you say, the ice cream. He always talk about. I have a picture with just me and Uncle Jesse in it when I was a little boy. You know what I'm saying? Who goes just with their
Yeah.
uncle and takes,
Okay.
I mean, that dude, that man, that guy was, I love that dude, man. That was one of the, I felt so loved by him, like genuine, like I knew he loved me, like love me, love me, love me. And he would spend time with me when he was
Yeah, he
around
was
and
yeah, he
all that stuff. Uncle Robert the same way. The
he was the
part of the
man. He
A part of the reason that I named why was it? Cause after I named Trey after me and dad, and then I found out we having
yeah.
another son. I'm like, how can I get my name in here another way? Because I had always told my father-in-law, if I have a son, my next son, I'll name him after you. And my mother-in-law, Jay, name after him. No, name after him. I'm like, anyway, so Uncle Robert, when I was a kid, would call me
Well, I gotta
Jason.
be honest, I wouldn't name nobody that
But
either.
after he after when before Jason was born, I was like, oh, I can play off of my nickname Jayson, Jay's son, basically. But Uncle Robert used to call me Jason. That was a part of that was in there. I looked up to him. Uncle Robert, when he was college football star, he would take me everywhere with him in his little orange, whatever that heck that car was that he
Yeah,
used to have. He used to take me everywhere. So again, I had
yeah,
men
that
in
was a
my
little.
life to look up to.
Yeah, he just got inducted into the Hall of Fame at Central
Yeah,
at
we talked
UCA.
about that. Yep. So again, I got all these
Oh,
legendary
did he?
people that I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
in real life. In real life, I don't have to look outside of my house. It was right there every day. My dad was present every single day, from showing me how to work on a car, change oil, change brakes. When I started racing cars, he helped me put my first exhaust system on my car, fishing, throwing the football, whatever. When I was doing theater, not
yeah.
my dad,
Those
but my
things.
mom.
Yeah,
My mom was helping me learn lines. When I wanted to act stuff out on the camera, she would get out and pretend to be a character with me. She would help me learn them lines. I mean, I didn't have to look far. I had all the examples I needed in my household. So you talk about the bonds of the family, and again, a part of the show is to, and what's beautiful, again, you don't know it about how candid and open and that you have been, is I always wanted to change the narrative on men aren't good communicators. Men are wonderful communicators. We can be wonderful communicators. If you hear some men talking about the
yeah, yeah,
intricacies of a football game in the NFC East and the West and how many yards. These gentlemen can talk odds on end. We just had to show that there's a different and again piggyback off of one of my mentors, Bishop McMillan, who was my children's church pastor minister from 10 to 12. Then we went to Germany. He was a pastor over there. But he talked about Unc as the seasons of masculinity, right? And he wrote a book, and it's basically talks about the masculine
Uh,
journey. Oftentimes we have been told as men that our masculinity is only basically measured in the most basic of things: provider mode, hero mode, right? Pretty much. I provide, I come in, dad fixes it, I got my cape on, and then, but you don't relate with your family or your children any other way. And in their book, he talked about dealing with young men that if I only deal with my son through force and I never sit down and really build with him and talk to him and know who he is as a young man, then resentment builds. So, with that said, we have to show all of the intricacy and sides of who we are as men. Our masculinity is this beautiful thing. And a part of being a masculine man is showing that I can communicate with my children, with my wife, and in the community. In all those spaces, I know how to move, I know how to communicate, and I know how to convey my thoughts, feelings, and ideas in a way that people can understand. You are doing that. You're showing that right now. Without me having told you that, you're showing us the masculine journey that you went on and how we can model ourselves after the stuff that you have implemented in your life.
wow, never thought about it that way, but we I don't know, worked on those kinds of things, I guess, without knowing it,
Mm-hmm.
trying to just trying to be that, or
Mm-hmm.
trying to find a way to be closer to the
Mm-hmm.
people around you, to the people you care about, and to those people that love you. You're constantly working on ways to get closer by communicating better
Mm-hmm.
with them,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes, I have to be honest, sometimes the communication gets blurred because you don't want to seem too sensitive,
Mm-hmm.
or you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to seem like not sensitive. You don't want to seem weak, like the
Weak.
weakest man in the world, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yep.
And so sometimes we will forego an opportunity, a gift wrapped opportunity, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
to gain some ground in a relationship with somebody who cares about you and who you care about, simply because we don't want to appear weak.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to learn how to not be that way.
Mm-hmm.
um, you know. And so your pastor's right about that masculinity thing. It can blur your vision,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
because you grow up, you grow up thinking, hey, men don't cry. All right,
Right.
somebody see you crying, hey, men don't cry.
Mm-hmm.
That is the worst advice in the world. I
Right.
mean, I have not had better relief than when I just wept over
Yeah.
something. That is a relief when you can weep about something. That's a relief.
Mm-hmm.
But if you got to hold it, all it does is stress you out.
Yeah.
But you have to learn how to do that. And so over the years, I have learned how to do that, with the help of your father, your Uncle
Mm-hmm.
Mike, your Uncle Jeff, and your Uncle RC, all the people that care about me and those that I care about. I learned how to do that from them. So now I don't have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
I get teary when babies are born. I got teary at your wedding,
Mm-hmm.
at your cousin.
Yeah.
At your cousin Jared's wedding. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and now it doesn't bother me to do that, and I don't care who sees it.
Yep. Absolutely
You
not.
know, but you
Yeah.
have to reach that point because you're taught men don't cry,
Mm-hmm.
real men don't cry.
Mm-hmm.
That is the biggest cry.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Yep.
a cry. Why would you? And now that I think back, why would I even subscribe to that?
Yep.
Why?
Yep.
Why would we do that?
Yep.
And keep that emotion pent up like that. It does is make you miserable.
Yep.
You know, that's all it does. It make you miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to learn that the hard way. But the beautiful thing that, the other beautiful thing that I learned from my family, man, from all of y'all,
Mm-hmm.
is that I can be more powerful when I'm in touch with y'all or in tune with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I have my energy, then I got yours as well,
Mm-hmm.
and your rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
So I got your energy, I got your rhythm, and that makes me a powerful person.
Yes,
You
sir.
know, and that is one of the cool things about having a strong family is that you can tap into the energy of that family, and that can help you bounce back from sorrow, grief, all kinds of stuff. It
Mm-hmm.
can boost you when you're down. I mean, yeah, all of those things. I can get that from y'all,
Mm-hmm.
and that makes us a very fortunate group because a lot of people don't have that,
Yeah.
and
Very
therein
true.
lies the reason that they can't bounce back from certain stuff.
Very true. And I think too, I always talk
So
about how the folks of old had it right as far as the family unit staying together. Where, back in the game, we would have been all in the same place, raising cattle, cultivating the land together. You know what I mean? Because it truly
yep,
does
yep,
energize you when you are around your family. It's like you connected back to your source. You know what I'm saying? It's like you directly plugged in.
yeah, it's a source of energy, man.
It's like your thoughts are more clear, your joy is
Yeah,
like up here, you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. But like you say, I'm thankful for the family unit that we have, that we can reach out to each other when we need something, talking about the space of freedom to cry. And even with Liz, and she gives me that. I had a friend that passed during COVID, and I got the call. I was at work. I went outside and sat on the bench. First person I
yeah,
called was her. I'm on the bench crying, talking to my wife. And she's encouraging me though. You know what I mean? So I
yeah,
felt that space where I didn't have to keep that thing
exactly.
in
Yeah,
like that, man. I had to let it go. I had to, man. I had to. It was a close
yeah,
friend of mine that passed.
yeah, yeah, and see, and that is her giving you the space to do that, man,
Yeah.
and not holding you to, hey, men don't cry. And
Right.
see, your uncle Mike did that for me when your uncle
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy passed away.
Yes, sir.
When I didn't make it to his funeral.
Yes, sir.
I didn't make it because your Aunt Brenda was ill at the same time. So
Yep.
I had to make a decision. I
Yes,
either
sir.
go down there and go to the funeral, or I need to stay here and take care of her.
Yep.
And so I called him up and said, man, I am just torn to pieces about this because, Brenda cannot travel right now. Her doctor said she can't travel,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't leave her here by herself.
Yes,
And
sir.
nobody's available to be here with her while I go down there for the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, you need to, he said, I understand how tough that decision is for you because, how close to you, we are as brothers and all of that. He said, but who is the person who needs you the most right now?
Mm. Yep.
It was that simple.
Yeah.
It was like, well, of course, it's Brenda.
Yeah. Yep.
She need me right now. Jimmy uh, is passed away,
Yep.
and so he helped me make that decision, man. So I
Yeah.
ended up not going, but I prayed about it and got peace of mind. But he was the one that
Yep.
said, "Who needs you the most right now?
Mm-hmm.
Which one of them needs you the most?"
Yep.
He made it real simple for me, man. So
Yeah.
and of
Yeah.
course, yeah, I cried about it, and all of those kind of. In fact, I broke down at Jerry's wedding
Mm-hmm.
because Your Aunt Louise, she brought me Jimmy's putter. Now he and I
Oh,
used to play
okay.
golf a lot together,
Yes, y'all did. Yep.
and so I asked her if she would give me one of his clubs. So she brought me the putter, and man, I touched it, and something just went through me, and I just broke
Mm-hmm.
down and just boo-hooed like mad.
Yeah.
And Fish now, Pat, her
Mm-hmm.
husband, let me
Yep.
sit in his truck, man, while I, grieved about it. But
Yep.
your Uncle Mike, man, helped me through that. And
Yep.
all he did was pose a simple question.
Yep.
Just
Mm-hmm.
pose a simple question. He's like, who needs you the most right
Yep.
now?
Yep.
And
Yep.
made it easy for me to make the decision, man. So I don't regret not going now because it
Mm-hmm.
also gave me peace of mind. I did the right thing,
Yep.
but that's what our family can do for us. That's what family can do.
Yeah, and
So
even I can
it's a
picture
beautiful thing, man.
Uncle Jimmy and his smart mouth saying something way, if you don't take care of Brenda, and I can't, he would have said something funny, and because that
Yeah, yeah,
he would have said
yeah. And he
something
would have
funny.
said that, he
Yeah,
would have. That's what he
yeah,
would have said. He was like, boy,
yep,
you want me to come down there and kick and
yeah,
see, he would have those kind of
yeah.
conversations
That's what he would have said,
but
something
yeah,
like that.
but yeah,
Yeah.
but that was the thing. And all it took was that one simple question, because
Hmm.
my man was just locked. It was like, oh
Yeah.
my God, what am I going to do? My brother, I loved him. Me and him ain't going to be able to play golf anymore. I need to be down there.
Yep.
But, and then at the same time, hey, I needed to be here with Brenda.
Yeah.
So he relieved that tension for me and just said, who needs you the most right now?
Yeah, and I know
Something that simple.
Uncle Jimmy's passing was big for you, of course, because it's your brother. But I know you guys spent a lot of time together. Y'all's relationship was extremely, extremely close, and what I always remember of Uncle Jimmy was that, again, guy, it didn't matter how long it had been since I seen him. I just felt that genuine love for him. And that Joker was always going, don't you mention cooking, because he will go to the store right now and get whatever it is to make a lemon ice box pie
Exactly.
or
And then, yeah,
what,
yeah,
and make it right now. He will do it. And here,
yeah,
just a
that was
funny
him, boy. That
a
was
funny
him.
story from the funeral. Is so I had heard my dad and my mom were talking about Uncle Jimmy being cremated. So that's all I had in my head. So we're standing out in the foyer or whatever of the funeral home, and I'm seeing folks, and I see Vinay and whoever else I see, me and Vinay out there talking. And my dad comes up to me and says, "Hey, do you want to go in there to view?" And I said, "Is he in there?" And he said, "Oh yeah, they hadn't cremated me." I said, "Oh," I said, "Man." And me and my mom just laughed, but we said it secret. But I was like, I'm like, he want me to go look at the earth. I'm like, okay, so, but we laughed about that. And I said, I know Uncle Jimmy would have got a kick out of that. But I said, man, I didn't know what you were talking about, dude. But even my dad, our relationship, another thing too that I'm sure you have the same thing of how your relationship with Tim and Josh has evolved over the years. But it's funny how, as parents and children, you evolve from that parental thing where you're giving guidance and sometimes discipline and correction. And then when you get older and have kids, you become more like friends. You still have that reverence and respect of your parents. But me and my dad have evolved to where he's my guy now. So he and I are, he made
Yeah.
sure to come by that morning, and after he dropped my little sister off at school, he and I just talking, and he's sharing with me how he's feeling, and that, he went through his, tears and, grieving about it and everything. But he's talking to me not as his son, but as his friend. This is my friend expressing to me how he's feeling about his older brother passing. And, in that moment, I still was
Seeing
thankful,
that, yeah.
thankful for that communication, that relationship we have. And then also with them being back in town here, where he can pop up and come
Uh,
by and see me, talk about stuff. My mom, when she would have pop up and come by and talk to me and my wife about something, or vice versa, or they going through something with Haven, the high schooler, the teenager going through teenage stuff. We all here to support each other. And I know you got that same thing with Tim. Like you said, she's right there across the street and stuff like that. So same stuff.
yep.
Yeah. So, as we taper everything off, I can't thank you enough for sharing with me like this. This is the exact way I wanted this to go. Just authentic conversation, communication, no contrive, no questions already. You knew I was going to ask you or anything like that, and you just being willing to share with me. That's the type of authentic conversation I want people to see. But uh I give the floor is yours to close us out. You got any parting thoughts or anything like that you want to leave with us?
Well, JD, the only thing I want to leave is first, thank you so much for inviting me to do this because this is a growth opportunity for me.
Yes, sir.
Even in my old age, hey, there's always room for growth no matter how old you get. And so this was a growth opportunity for me to
Mm-hmm.
talk to you about, who I am.
Yes,
Even
sir.
though, you know me as Uncle Napoleon or whatever. But, in a way fulfilling for me just to say some things that I've never voiced before.
Yes, sir.
And because nobody's really never asked me about,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. And so I would, uh, I would urge anybody to try and get the opportunity to do what we did today with
Yes.
somebody in their family, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I think it's a valuable thing. It's a valuable thing because I learned some things about you today as well,
Yes, sir.
you know.
Yes, sir.
Uh, and but you created the opportunity, and that's worth a lot to me.
Yes, sir.
And
Okay.
see, I'll never forget this. This is the first time I've ever done. What did you say this thing was called?
A
A
podcast.
podcast or something?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. See, I don't really know what that is, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, thank you for the opportunity to participate.
Yeah, I appreciate you honoring me to do it and to being so, like I said, so willing and open. And again, as we close out, to piggyback off what my uncle said, guys, all of this is hopefully you learn something. You can take a nugget for you and your family, but more importantly, hopefully it's an inspiration to you to implement with your family. It doesn't have to be on a podcast. It can be sitting down with your children, with your wife, with, like Unc said, somebody that you care about or that cares about you. And over time, and I told you, Unc, my biggest hurdle that I'm fighting and always trying to keep in check is my ego, you know. And what I have learned, I always used to think, like I said, coming being a creative guy, doing theater, being out front and things like that. But as much as I want to be heard, I want to be understood, but I also want to understand others. I want to understand. And in the communication piece, when you come with an open heart, an open mind, and an open heart, start first by wanting to understand. Let's find understanding so then we can find common ground to build and be better. But always remember, you want to understand first. Look, seek understanding. Seek. Okay, let me see your perspective and your view into the name of our podcast. How did we get here? How did Napoleon Carter get from there to here? And he's been kind and gracious enough to give us a roadmap of that beautiful journey that he's had. His how did we get here of his life. So, with that said, y'all, it's been another episode here of How Did We Get Here? This is our first installment of our series, The Fabric of Me. I'm Jay Carter. This wonderful gentleman is Napoleon Carter. But we will see y'all on the next one. Thanks for tuning in.